Committee will come to order. We meet today to vote on the nomination of Frank Bisignano to be Commissioner of the Social Security Administration. As we have done with other nominees, the meeting this morning will provide members with the opportunity to make remarks on Mr. Bisignano's nomination, and we will notify members of a time and location later today to conduct the committee vote. Mr. Bisignano has more than 30 years of executive leadership experience in banks and financial institutions. He currently serves as the chairman of the board and chief executive officer of Fiserv, a leader in payments and financial technology. At his nomination hearing, Mr. Bisignano discussed his vision for improving the Social Security Administration service to the public, including bringing down wait times for SSA's National 800 number and for claims decisions. While Mr. Bisignano has extensive experience using information technology to improve the organizational performance, he also understands the importance of meeting customers where they are. He committed to ensuring that individuals can interact with the SSA in the way they prefer, whether in person, by phone, or online. Mr. Bisignano would also draw his decades of experience to improve SSA's payment accuracy. When SSA issues an improper payment, it places a burden on the affected beneficiaries, the agency, employees, and taxpayers. I look forward to working with him to achieve these important goals. Before moving on, let me address the allegations made during Mr. Bisignano's nomination hearing that he lied about his connections to DOJ and its efforts to break Social Security. I remind my colleagues that Mr. Bisignano does not currently hold a position at the Social Security Administration, let alone a decision-making position. Mr. Bisignano's nomination was first announced in December 2024, and he has been going through the Finance Committee's rigorous due diligence process for months. Yet the allegations against Mr. Bisignano made in an anonymous letter were not shared with me or my staff until after his hearing commenced. The anonymous letter claims that Mr. Bisignano insisted on personally approving several key DOJ hires at the agency and getting frequent briefings. Mr. Bisignano responded to these allegations in writing this weekend as a part of the questions for the record. Mr. Bisignano stated that he does not have a role at SSA and was not part of the decision-making process led by the current acting commissioner, Lee Dudek, about SSA operations, personnel, or management. Mr. Bisignano stated that he communicated with former acting commissioner Michelle King multiple times and had brief introductory phone calls with individuals chosen for various acting roles. Mr. Bisignano said he has not spoken with acting commissioner Dudek beyond a short introductory phone call. The anonymous letter specifically mentions 4 individuals that Mr. Bisignano has been in contact with or pushed SSA to onboard. Mr. Bisignano reiterated in writing that he has a 20-year professional relationship with one contact, periodic contact with another on general matters related to the agency, was referred to another to help him with preparation for his confirmation hearing, and the last individual he does not know at all. Even though the timing of the anonymous letter suggests a political effort to delay the committee vote on this nominee, my staff have told Senator Weidenstaff, and we have discussed this just now, that we are open to meeting with the author of the letter and keeping the individual anonymous. However, any information provided by the individual must be thoroughly vetted, including allowing the nominee the opportunity to respond. A process for vetting the allegations has not been agreed to. The issue here, as I understand it, is the frequency and details of communications between the nominee and SSA officials. The nominee has responded in writing to these allegations. The SSA needs steady Senate-confirmed leadership. Mr. Bisignano would bring his decades-long focus on strong customer service and operational excellence to the SSA. I urge my colleagues to support his nomination. And I recognize now Ranking Member Wyden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Today, the Finance Committee is going to vote on the nomination of Frank Bisignano to be the Commissioner of the Social Security Administration. My most important point this morning is the Finance Committee should not be holding this vote today. This nominee lied multiple times to every member of this committee, including the bipartisan finance staff, and the nominee's actions and communications with DOJ remain very much at the heart of my objection here. My office received an account from a whistleblower about the ways the nominee was deeply involved in and aware of DOJ's activities at the agency. Mr. Bisignano lied in meetings with bipartisan Finance Committee staff. He lied in a meeting with me in my office down the hall, and he lied before this committee a week ago. I asked the nominee, for example, if he had a part in speeding up the hiring for Akesh Baba, a DOJ acolyte who was rushed into the agency after other members of DOJ had trouble persuading career officials to cut corners and ignore safeguards and privacy laws. Mr. Bisignano told me he was not involved. The whistleblower's statement says that's not true, that Mr. Bisignano personally intervened to get Boba immediate access to Social Security systems. I asked the nominee if he was involved in any discussions about personnel or operations at Social Security. Again, the transcript says the nominee said no. The whistleblower's statement says he spoke frequently with Michael Russo, one of DOJ's chief operators at Social Security. Mr. Bisignano also requested that senior Social Security staff not hire any new personnel without his explicit approval. The account of the whistleblower, I would say to my colleagues, was confirmed independently by a veteran reporter at the Washington Post newspaper. Now, with respect to the committee, I've asked the chairman of the committee to work with me to verify the disturbing account on a bipartisan basis. And up till a few minutes ago, it wasn't, to me, a topic for conversation. Now we're going to explore this. We have to have a process that protects the whistleblower's identity, gives the whistleblower a chance to lay out for the bipartisan group at the committee, what happened, and it needs to be done before this nominee goes to the floor of the United States Senate. And I think that's reasonable. We've talked about getting something that would allow the majority to later on schedule a vote, but I insist that in the name of basic fairness, that there is a chance to have a bipartisan inquiry in exactly what the whistleblower said and the nominee's response, and it take place before there is a final vote on the floor of the Senate. And I'll yield just does my colleague wish me to yield? I don't, oh, great. I would just conclude this part of my remarks. I think it would be a dark day in the history of the Finance Committee if we surrender our ability to hold truth to power. The chairman and I have worked together on a lot of issues. We have plenty of disagreements, but we've never gone to basically ignoring whistleblowers who are well regarded in terms of the substance of an issue to have a chance to speak truth to power. Let me just close by way of saying this may sound like some inside baseball, but to me, if you lie to all these people, all the staff and me and others, you lie to the American people once you're on the job. My final remark is that seniors and families have tremendous concern about what is going on at Social Security and their earned Social Security benefits. Over the last several weeks, what's been happening at the agency is nothing short of bedlam. Radical changes in customer service over the phone, website connectivity problems, dozens of regional and field office closure announcements. The whiplash is confusing and discouraging Americans from getting their benefits. And if a senior or somebody with a disability can't access their Social Security, that, in my view, is DOJ stealing their money. The nominee today is going to be a person who has come from business and has made a career of swooping in, firing workers, selling off pieces of a company, and merging with a competitor. These practices may be good for shareholders, but they hurt American families. So we, Senate Democrats, are not going to stand by idly while Trump's cronies take a sledgehammer to Social Security and deprive seniors of their earned benefits under the false banner of fighting fraud. And as I reminded the committee last week, the amount of fraud taking place from Social Security's retirement and disability benefits is 0.009. The whistleblower summed it up to me. This whistleblower, who's got expertise in the field, who bravely provided the Finance Committee with their testimony, said that the nominee to run Social Security will not temper the chaos, but bolster it. I urge my colleagues to vote no. Thank you, Senator Crapo.
Thank you, Senator Wyden, and I will just comment briefly in response, and then we'll go on to any other senator who wishes to make a statement. It was my understanding that and it is my understanding that we have been very willing to meet with the whistleblower, protect his or her anonymity, and get the information that the whistleblower wants to bring to us. At this point, it's simply an anonymous letter, and we have not been able to meet with the person to confirm anything different. We also insist that if there is information presented, that the information presented needs to be made available to the nominee so that he can respond to the allegations. If we can work that out, we will do so.
Let me just repeat what I think our understanding is, and I think we have come to some progress. One, we're going to protect the whistleblower's identity. Two, we're going to have an independent process. And three, it's going to be done before this nominee is on the floor of the United States Senate in front of all our colleagues.
I can't make the commitment on when it would go to the floor. That's a decision to be made by the majority leader, but I can tell you that we will work from today forward to do an expeditious review if the whistleblower, the anonymous person, will come forward and meet with us and present that information so that we can then present that same information to the nominee and get the nominee's response.
I just think that it is so important that this get done before this goes to the floor of the United States Senate. Social Security is the connective tissue for the American people between young workers and retired people. And when you have somebody who sits at the witness table where our wonderful staff is today and lies up to their eyeballs to this committee, we have got to get this right. So I look forward to further discussions and putting that together.
All right, thank you. And now I will turn to any other senator wanting to make a statement. And next on my list is Senator Cantwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I am speaking against this nomination. I do share my colleague from Oregon, the ranking member's concerns that we need to understand Mr. Bisignano's past statements. And I think the context here is that we have seen cuts in staffing. We have seen threats of closures of office. We have seen the request for re-registration. And so we are seeing an undermining of the services at Social Security right now. And Mr. Bisignano represents somebody who's made a name for himself in the business sector of coming in and, if you will, slashing and burning to find the efficiencies. Well, I would say Social Security is no place to slash and burn. It's a contract with the American people. It should be kept. And what we should do is improve the service. The taxpayers that pay into the program do so throughout their lives, and they want the government to live up to that obligation and take care of them. Overwhelmingly, Americans support Social Security. A recent AARP poll found that 85% of Americans want Social Security benefits maintained or increased. And that shows that that's everybody. That's not just Democrats or, people who remember, how Social Security got created. This is everybody. This is Democrats, Republicans, independents. But we have an administration represented with DOJ who think that they're going to come in here and find billions of dollars that they can take out of Social Security and give to tax breaks to billionaires and corporations. So I think it's fair to understand whether Mr. Bisignano really did participate in that process and he has a background that's why he's being hired. He's not being hired because he's an expert on Social Security. He's being hired because somebody thinks he's going to come in here and basically get billions of dollars out of Social Security to give to a tax bill. So I just want to say, I need to tell the committee how important it is that the administration actions are leaving our offices overcrowded. Phone calls, as my colleague from Montana mentioned, are 1.5 hours or longer. That we had a constituent assure that she was able to even log into her account due to new verification changes. She's nearly 80 years old. So it's not like she has a smartphone or a computer or a webcam or is going to drive herself just over to the Social Security office. So I have 1.4 million constituents that deserve Social Security, and we're making it harder on them. And the instance I mentioned in Mr. Bisignano's hearing is that Social Security wrongfully declared one of my constituents, Ned Johnson, dead. His monthly benefit was withheld. Thousands of dollars in previously paid benefits were clawed back out of his joint account he shares with his wife. The erroneous determination set off a bureaucratic nightmare and ultimately had to wait in line at the federal building. But guess what? Guess what? They're still withholding his money, his most recent check. They are still withholding his payment. Why does he have to wage a war just to get his Social Security benefits? We cannot afford more of this thinking in this position. We need to make sure that we know the answers, and I do not believe that we have them today. Thank you.
Let me just say before moving forward, no one on our side, including the nominee, has said that they are going to cut Social Security benefits. In fact, the president has made it clear that he will not support cutting Social Security benefits. And the bottom line is the nominee is not even at the Social Security Administration yet.
Well, I beg to differ. My constituent, Ned Johnson, would want to know why the heck, out of all these years, he has to wage a war just to get his benefit. And it's because there's been a chilling effect. And I think that the issue is that is he being hired, and did he participate in the DOJ discussion? So I'm against his nomination, but I think we deserve to know the answers to the question the ranking member is asking.
Mr. Chairman?
Briefly.
Yeah, very, very briefly, and I appreciate it. You know that my background is working with the Great Panthers. I was director for a full 7 years and have really studied the issue of privatization, and that's the issue I have raised in this committee. When you hollow out a program like Social Security, which is what's going on with the phones, the personnel, and the offices, you make the situation there ripe for privatization. I call it a prelude to privatization because you're stuck with having to get some private contractors in. So I want my colleague to understand that I have been very specific about my concern with respect to the administration, and that these efforts with the phones, the offices, and the personnel, to me, are a prelude to privatization. I've used those words carefully. My colleague is asking that you describe this carefully. I've tried to do that.
Well, thank you. I'll just say again, no one has talked about privatization either. The president has said he's not going to tamper with Social Security. In fact, the law prohibits us in the tax bill that Senator Cantwell referenced, prohibits us from looking at Social Security, which we aren't doing anyway. The point is that this is not something that this nominee is even involved in, even if it were happening. The issue before us today is the nominee. And I see only one other senator present. Senator Warnock, did you wish to speak?
Yes.
Please do.
Thank you, Brother Chair. Since I was sworn into office over 4 years ago, I have received more than 32,000 messages from Georgians about Social Security. And I can tell you that folks all over my state are deeply concerned about Social Security. One thing is undisputed, and that is that Mr. Elon Musk, who in effect is functioning as co-president, said that Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme ever. So we know what he thinks about Social Security. And if he's heading this effort of supposedly going after waste, fraud, and abuse, the guy in charge of that thinks that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, then I think folks in Georgia have real reason to be concerned. And so that's why I asked Georgians to send me their questions. I represent them here. I wanted to know what were the questions that they thought the nominee to lead the Social Security Administration should be presented with. And in just 2 days, I received over 500 responses, over 500, and 260 unique questions from Georgians about Social Security. My office summarized these questions for the nominee, Mr. Bisignano, and sent them directly to him to answer. But it's important to me that each of these questions is ultimately addressed by the Trump administration. And so, Brother Chair, without objection, I'd like to enter these questions from Georgians into the record.
Without objection.
Georgians asked about this nominee's plans to ensure their benefits are not disrupted by DOGE. They asked about Elon Musk accessing their personal data. They asked about disability wait times and approval backlogs. But by far, most Georgians had questions about the Trump administration's overall disdain and callousness toward people who depend on their Social Security benefits to live. That is not in dispute. The president stood there at his joint statement before the Congress and named all of these dozens of dead people he said are getting Social Security. The head of the Commerce Department said, well, if his mother-in-law misses a check, no big deal. It's fraudsters who worry about that. It is that attitude that they're worried about. Part-time, a retired teacher from Jessup, Georgia says her Social Security check is her only income. And so let me be clear. Reducing phone services, scaling back field offices, and firing staff will make it harder for people to have their questions answered. These are all cuts to services and therefore cuts to benefits. I hope if he's confirmed that Mr. Bisignano can do what he says he wants to do and make Social Security work better for Americans. I'm rooting for that, but I'm concerned based on what we are hearing and what we are seeing from the Trump administration and from co-president Elon Musk, that they will break up Social Security. And I don't have confidence that this nominee can realistically be the backstop we need against Elon Musk, against DOGE, at the Social Security Administration to prevent my constituents from losing access to their hard-earned benefits. And for that reason, I'll be voting no on Mr. Bisignano's nomination, and I urge my colleagues to do the same.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. We will now procedurally recess and reconvene for the committee vote on the nomination off the Senate floor. Members will be notified when that timing is confirmed. Without objection, is so ordered. The committee stands in recess.